Hey everyone, Jeremy Gerard from Mythic Customs here with one of my short customizing tutorial videos. Today's topic's going to be about taking photos of your customs. So you spent all this time working on your custom, adding, new parts to it, adding some paint to it, swapping pieces. It's what you want. The vision you have has been created. Now it's time to snap some photos of that custom and to share it with the Mythic Legions community and the toy collecting community at large. This is the part of the process that I see a lot of customizers kind of skimp out and not really go all out. I see a lot of people that have great work that unfortunately take photos of their customs like on their workbench table or against like a wall or something where it really kind of breaks the fantasy aspect of what they're photographing, and quite frankly it doesn't do their awesome work justice. They've spent so much time on that custom. It really would be cool if they would just take that next step and photograph it against kind of a cool background. So I am not a professional photographer by any stretch of the imagination. This video is not really a lesson in action figure photography. If you want those type of more advanced lessons, I suggest you check out my friend Trevor Williams, 1/6 Shooter. He's got a channel here on YouTube. He posts absolutely wonderful tutorials about how he takes his photos. I'm just going to share some tips that I use to take my photos, because sometimes I think when you watch those professional tutorials, they can be a little intimidating when they talk about lighting and all of the different aspects. I mean, it's challenging. It's something that I'm still struggling with. I watch Trevor's videos and other action figure photographers' tutorials, and I'm still learning from them as well. But even myself, over the last few years of my customizing, I really think that I've taken my photography to another level. I've made improvements along the way, and the presentation of the work has absolutely benefited from some of those small changes. So I'm going to give you some tips today on some things that you can do really easy. Some of these things are super low cost that you can do, that you can elevate your action figure photography game. Okay? So the first tip that I will give you is the lowest cost thing you can do, the easiest thing you can do is just to, get yourself a blank background. Okay, so instead of shooting it on like your kitchen table where you can see everything in the background, or even trying to find a spot in your house that you think doesn't really look, it kind of looks like it would be an okay backdrop, against like a brick wall or something. Maybe you take it against a brick wall outside and you're like, well, at least brick is, an element that would be in a fantasy world perhaps. So I'll kind of fudge it that way. You really can see where that's being taken. It doesn't take you out of our reality and put you in kind of the realm of mythos. So I would suggest you are better served just get a black cloth. So the black cloth that I have underneath this table here, it's a simple black tablecloth. You can pick up something like that pretty inexpensively, and you can use that kind of to drape over wherever you're going to take the shot. I see sometimes people, they'll use like construction paper, like 2 pieces of black construction paper. They'll put one on the wall and one on the ground. That doesn't always work for me because you can usually see the seam where they connect. They're not seamless. The nice thing with a cloth is, you can kind of tape it up top, let it drape down so it doesn't have that hard, 90-degree angle. Let it drape down. It'll be more of a natural backdrop, and then you can photograph your figures just against that, say black backdrop, that black, tablecloth or whatever you use. I see some people use like a bed sheet. Sometimes those are textured or whatever. You can kind of see it's a bed sheet or you can see through it. I think black's a better way to go. If you're willing to spend a little bit of money, one thing you can do is you can buy an inexpensive light box. So I bought this from Amazon, and I'm going to lift this up here. This is one I bought from Amazon, and this thing totally collapses down to make it easy to store. But basically what this is it's got this little felt insert in here, and I have the black one in there, but it did come with a couple other colors as well. You can set this up, and it kind of does exactly what I was just mentioning, where it creates that, black kind of scooped backdrop that you can photograph figures against. This is the exact setup that I use. If you follow my Instagram page at Mythic Customs, whenever I take my my 360 shots where I show a custom from all the angles, that is the little light box that I use to photograph those figures in. So you can pick one of those up. I mean, this might have been like $30 on Amazon. Really minor investment to elevate your action figure photography. Now, personally, when I first started shooting, my customs, I shot them here in this room. I would just kind of put them on the floor against some of the cases. Never really worked for me because of the glass. I'd get some reflection and some glare and stuff like that. Again, one of the toughest parts that professional photographers will talk about is lighting. And certainly, I'm still not good at that at all. Back then, I was even worse. So I didn't know how to light it. I'd get glare from the glass. And plus, you'd see everything behind it. Then I started kind of making little, almost like dioramas. You see some dios behind me. I didn't make these, but I made some little dioramas with like foam blocks to kind of create like a castle wall. Again, looked better, but not perfect. Really, the first thing that I did that I think helped me out a lot was taking photos outside. Getting that natural light, taking them in environments that were kind of relevant. They made sense with the character. If I'm filming a very nature-like character, like an elf or some kind of a fae character, taking photos of them in the woods behind my house actually works really, really cool. Or, if I'm going to be taking, some skeletons or whatever, finding an area that's, maybe rocky and looks kind of desolate, that worked really well also. When I started bringing figures outside, I really, really thought that the photography itself, the kinds of images I was able to get were much improved. I do still take a lot of photos outside. Once again, if it makes sense for them to be outdoors in that type of an environment, then I absolutely use the area around me. Now I'm fortunate. I have some woods behind my house. I live in an area where, just driving around very, very quickly, I can get to a beach type area. I can get to like a swampy type area. So I have a lot of different kinds of locations that I can use. Regardless of where you live, I'm sure you can find some cool places that you can take some action figure photos. So start that as well. Play around with outdoors, see the kinds of photos you can take. I think you'll be pleasantly impressed. Dioramas. So once I started using dioramas in my action figure photography, that completely opened up a whole new world. These I think are wonderful, but these are also going to be the largest investment. I just talked about using a sheet or a black tablecloth. That's a real minimal investment. Obviously, taking photos outside, that's probably no monetary investment. The light box, like $30 or so, these are going to be considerably more expensive. But in my opinion, if you pick up a couple dios, they are well worth the money. So I have a few different ones here that I'll show you. This one here is by my friends JD and Chandra from a company called Shelf Gravy. So you can find them on like Instagram and so forth at Shelf Gravy. Really, really cool. This was a piece that I got from them. It's all magnet. It's actually all made of separate pieces and it magnets together. The fact that this back piece, because this is obviously fairly large, the fact that that back piece comes off makes it really easy to store for my photos. I like this a lot. The fact that it has steps, you've probably seen this exact dial in my photography and in the photography on sourcehorseman.com. A lot of the photos that I have to take for the Four Horsemen Studios website, I use these dials because they just look so good in those photos. These are just made of foam. So a lot of the dials that you're going to see out there that people are using, they're just using stuff like this. This is just some foam that you buy from a hardware store. This green one came from Lowe's. I know that Home Depot has a pink one. But what they're able to do with these in terms of shaping them, creating those cobblestone type stuff, painting them, it's incredible. You can try this as well. There's a lot of people that have kind of made that leap into buying this foam and making dials for themselves, carving patterns in there with pens or different kinds of tools to get the different textures and then painting them. I've tried my hand at it a little bit. I'm not really great at it, so I'm going to stick and leave that to the experts and pick up some of these cool dials to use. These other two that you see behind me, you've probably seen these in a lot of Mythic Legions customizers photos. These are by a group called Crashbox Customs. Wonderful, wonderful quality. And what's great about them, I love, love, love the stuff from Shelf Gravy. But Shelf Gravy, they don't have like a store where they are selling them, at least not as I record this video. It's a much more kind of, they make a few dios and they sell them off. Crashbox have really put these into production, and they've been taking like pre-orders for what they call here these mythic pieces. So this was the first one they did. They called it Mythic Piece 01 or Mythic Piece 1, this kind of window. I originally picked this up because it really filled a void for me. Again, I have my outdoor space where I take photos of woodland type characters. I've got a lot of dios and backgrounds from more gritty type characters like, broken down walls and, caves and stuff like that. Evil characters, goblins, things like that. But when I wanted more of a castle interior type setting for more heroic characters like knights or so forth, I didn't have anything that worked really well for that. So when I saw this window, I really, really liked it. He also sells these floor pieces. So what you're able to do here is kind of, position the floor underneath it and then photograph your figures right against this. And the great thing too is if you get a few of these, I have a few of these windows, you can stack them side by side. He has shown them stacked on top of each other, but you can make really large, impressive displays to photograph not only a figure, but groups of figures or, different diorama type scenes that you're looking to maybe create. This other one here, put this down, this other one here, this is another piece that he did, Mythic Piece 02 or 2, the door. This one here, I got the door. These are fixed in place. He did also sell some that opened up as well. Once again, one of the great things is if you get multiple, you can stack them together and make some really, really cool displays just by putting these things together. Awesome, right? Now, these types of pieces, these are going to run you depending on the piece. Obviously, his pieces are different. The fixed doors were clearly less expensive than the opening doors because the opening doors had mechanics and he had to, detail the both sides of the doors and everything like that. But these are going to run you anywhere. Dioramas are going to run you, probably for a good one, anywhere from $100 to maybe $200 for a piece. The nice thing is a lot of these do fit. These are a little larger. He does also have smaller ones that fit in these Detolf cases that you see behind me. So if you actually want to buy them and do double duty with them, if you want to use them for your photography and put them on display, you have that option as well. I know this one does fit right inside of a Detolf case. I personally don't display them like that because of the amount that I have. Putting the dios in there, it does take up some of the available space. So for me, there's kind of a trade-off. Do I want to lose the amount of space to get this cool display? You have to make that decision for yourself. But from a photography standpoint, I think these are a wonderful investment. And once again, that's what they are. You are investing in this hobby, in this art. I see people drop big money to get Mythic Legions figures, to get fodder parts to put these things together. So if you think about the amount you've spent dropping, $150 on a really nice diorama that's got some versatility that you can use to photograph a number of your pieces going forward, I think that is a worthwhile investment. But once again, you can work up to this. I didn't get there right away. It was incremental for me. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. I mean, I've also seen talking about Trevor Williams and 1/6 Shooter, the great stuff that they do. I've seen them use large, like monitors, and they put scenes behind the display that they're setting up, the scene that they're going to photograph. That's a challenge. The light source that comes off that, those are the types of tips, how to use that. Those are the types of tips that, once again, I suggest you look at those professional photographers for. But if you're looking to start small, hopefully these tips will help you out, give you some ideas of how you can photograph your customs, take the presentation to the next level, and really show that work the best that it can be. Thanks for joining. If you enjoy these type of videos, let me know. Give it a like. Let me know in the comments. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, please consider doing so. Until next time, I can't wait to see what you make.